What's good, Fatherhood? Welcome to Uncommon, the dad work show, where my vision is to create a world where dads can live and show up at their fullest, day in and day out, no matter what life throws at them. I strive to empower dads to build the inner strength and outer strength, the presence, the patience, the power, to be the cycle-breaking and legacy-making leaders for themselves, for their families, and for the world. My ultimate goal is to build a community of uncommon men and dads who embody the physical vitality, the mental strength, the emotional mastery, and operate at a level of fatherhood that this world has never seen before. Through Uncommon, I aim to create a powerful movement to transform the lives of thousands of fathers, dads, men, husbands, and in so doing, lives of their wives, their children, and the planet as an MFing whole. Today, Mr. Steve Eckert is coming on with us, and I know that there it is.
There we go.
I was going to paint a picture of how epic your beard is right now.
I love it. It was better off when you didn't see the face. The blank screen was a better picture than this.
It's all good, man. Well, welcome, Steve Eckert, husband, father, leader, and transformer of men, sometimes in ways that people are really uncomfortable with. Welcome, sir.
Awesome. Ready to do it. Looking forward to the conversation. A lot of these type of conversations, especially with men like you, don't happen too often. Like being uncommon, I'm all about it. I love it. Love the whole message that you send.
Appreciate that, man. We were talking about something right before we hopped on that I am in love with. It like lights my heart on fire. And it's this concept of the freedom lifestyle. I have never heard that before you said it. And then I was like, oh yes, I want this. What is the freedom lifestyle?
Yeah, it's even a step further than that. We call it the freak freedom lifestyle, meaning you're gonna live like, I think that when men feel overwhelmed or burned out, it's just because they're not living the fucking life they want to live. They're living someone else's life. They're told to be on one end soft and weak and whatever else. On the other end, they're seeing all the bullshit on social media and how they're supposed to have all these cars, and then they're fucking lost and confused. And they're never living for themselves. They don't even know who they are anymore. They've lost touch with who they are. They've lost touch with manhood. And then that just causes shitty relationships with their kids. And then there's a cycle rolling downhill generation. And it just rolls to all their entire family bloodline. So our freak freedom lifestyle is living life on our own terms, like not giving a shit if us being uncommon, like you say, is offending, or someone doesn't like it, or they don't like the way that we do things. It's what's making us happy. Like we have our goals and vision of where we're going in even future generations of our family at this point. And it's all about creating the lifestyle, creating the life you don't need a freaking vacation from. Like I don't work anymore. I don't work. Like this technically, like this is work for you. This isn't work. This is what it's all about. Blending all that together, integrating it all together, where the personal, the professional all comes together. That's the ultimate freaking work-life balance. People talk about work-life balance, and men these days are the most imbalanced fucking creatures on the planet. So that's what the freak freedom lifestyle is really all about.
Yeah, man. I am 100% like back at the beginning of my journey when I was doing the corporate fitness gig. I was like, I feel like I need a vacation. I really desire to create a life that I don't need a vacation from. And now on the other side, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to be, I can be 100% present with my kids and run this business and provide for them. But it's something that feels so impossible. So like, what are some of the other components like of the freedom lifestyle? Help us like feel this out a little bit more. We want to create a life that we don't need a vacation from, but what does that look like in your life? And in the men that you coach, like, what does that look like in their lives?
Yeah, and it's different for everyone. So for like people ask sometimes like, what's your morning routine? And you tell them, and then they try to copy your morning routine, and it turns out a disaster because it doesn't fit their lifestyle, their character, their personality, their goals, even their schedule, their day. So we create a rhythm. We create a rhythm for our week, which makes it a rhythm for the month and the year. Like, and we have different types of days that we have as a family. We have all these different uncommon rituals that we follow, that we do as a family. So we always know what kind of intention we have, not just for that day, but for every activity, almost every moment of the day, because our kids are homeschooled. Me and my wife both work from home. So we're always together. So we create this rhythm, this freak flow throughout our weeks and days. Like like it's so fitting what we just did. We met beforehand on Zoom just to chat for a little bit, and you ran me through some breath work to go before it. And you're like, we're down to get a little weird or do something a little weird or uncommon? But it's just fucking crazy because one of our rhythms is we have these nights where we stay up a lot later than usual. And last night was one of those nights. So then we wake up a little bit later, which was today. And we stayed up even a little later than usual last night because we were getting some work and then we were having some fun. So I actually, when that happens and I'm waking up later in the morning, I'll get some of those things like my meditation and journaling done. I'll have to do them at different points in the morning, not normally right in the first thing. So I actually didn't even meditate yet this morning, which normally I do first thing in the morning. And then you ask if I want to do that. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is how the flow, it always just works out in your favor. We have rituals that we set, and when things get thrown off course, we just find ways to make up for it. But part of those rituals, like we have weekdays that we call kill day, and we have kill days, skill days, chill days, and like today is a chill day. Well, today's actually a nerd day. Today's a nerd day, meaning I'm not doing really much real work or working on marketing campaigns. We're doing like reading, doing courses, writing. So I'll be creating podcast topics, but it's all just writing. It's all just creative work. It's like a creative learning day. We'll be reading for a few hours. We'll be watching some like documentaries on Netflix. That's what our entire day is. We'll still go to the gym, of course, but on the way to the gym, we're listening to audiobooks, and that's our nerd day today. We call it the nerd day. And so we have rituals like that. Literally the month, out of the 30 days of a month, at least 20 of them have a specific intention to that day. At least some months, it's almost every single day that has an intention, our freak flow. And so we know exactly what we're getting into. And then it keeps us excited. It keeps us engaged. We always have something to look forward to. We have last Thursday, we call it Freak Night. And it's a night where we pick 2 or 3. And usually it's just me and my son, my wife and daughter. They crash out early. But we pick the top projects that we're working on, 1 or 2 or 3 projects that we're working on. And we'll stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. We do that once a month. And we literally will work for about 2.5 hours, and we'll take a break and go play video games to check out for like 30, 40 minutes. And we'll go back to work for 2.5 hours, and we get more done in that one night than most people or even ourselves get in a week or in a month sometimes. We're done with that night. We're like, holy shit, like we could take a week off if we want to. So that gives us our Friday. Every Friday is Freak Freedom Friday, where we don't put anything on the calendar. We just flow with the day on the Friday. So we have rituals like that. We have our family meetings on Sunday. We have one-on-one meetings with each other throughout the week. Like I'll meet with my wife one-on-one. We'll have an actual business meeting every Tuesday at 9 a.m. is our work meeting. We run different businesses together. So we'll have an actual work meeting at that time. So we know that's the intention we need for that time. We don't talk about business outside of the work meetings. Then I'll have one-on-one times on the schedule with my son, one-on-one times on the schedule with my daughter, times where it's just me and both kids. And then of course, times it's all 4 of us together. So every one of those is intentional. Those different interactions and dynamics are intentional throughout the week, because those are all different. You're going to have a different approach to each one of those dynamics, depending on what group or what person you're with, or it's total different intention. So that's all just a quick, brief overview. There's tons of it. I could go on and on about it, about the rituals that we have. We have tons of them. Like we have a room in our house called the Ark Room. Like we have a guest bedroom that my wife, we moved into this house. She made it all like nice, and all the fucking curtains and all that stuff for like a guest bedroom. And we hardly ever have a guest that sleeps over. So it's a room that just sits there. So me and the kids, we came up with this brilliant plan. We have a bunch of pets. We convinced her to make that like our pet room. So you walk in there, it smells like a fucking zoo in there. At one point there was like 9 or 10 different animals in that room, and there's hamsters and guinea pigs and snakes and birds, and then we have 3 dogs. There's a tortoise. So we have our Ark Room, and so every night before we go to sleep, part of the nighttime routine, most nights, a couple of nights we don't do it. We'll all just go meet in the Ark Room and take all the pets out, hang out with the pets, and chill like before we go to sleep. Part of our kind of nighttime routine that we have. So literally the whole day, the whole life is just filled with this type of rhythm and flow. So you really know what you're doing all the time. You can be intentional about what you're doing, but you really never have a bad fucking day because it's all intentional, and you know you're hitting. You don't have to feel guilty about missing out on anything. You know that you're checking all the boxes with intention, not just checking them to check them, checking them with like pure, deep gratitude, intention, awareness, and presence.
Yeah. I love that. And I got a couple things that came up for me during it. Rhythm and flow. One of the things my teachers taught me is you're a part of nature. You're not apart from it. And nature, living on this planet, is a cycle of rhythm and flow, night and day. We can stand in the river and like go with whatever the river's doing, or we can try and resist it. And I see so much coaching out there, and I tried to do this stuff of like, you need to have a rigid set schedule every single day with no rhythm and flow. You need to be exactly the same. And what I experienced, and what misguidedly what I was trying to teach men back in those days, was something that was so rigid that it would break. It's like a dry noodle. It would shatter, and everything would fall apart. And I would fluctuate back and forth between like, I'm going to do all this stuff, I'm going to be super disciplined, and blowing it up, and then living the party day forever. And I think a lot of men experience that. So one, there's two questions that I have for you. Let me feel for a second. The first one is, what are 3 of your indispensable practices within your rhythm and flow?
Yeah, awesome question. And the first thing about the rigid, just to comment on that real quick, there is, I think, certain people and a time and a place, and depending on a phase someone's in life. Like if you look at my calendar and my schedule, you'll see it. It's all color coded. It is all very specific, but I know that I have the flexibility to do what I need to do to move it around, but it's also covering. It looks very rigid, but if you look at it throughout the week, and if it was on a graph or something, you'd see the flow, the work, the balance, the fun, the training, the ups, the downs, the rest, the recovery. It's all in there. So it looks very rigid, but it is flowing like a motherfucker on there. So that's the first thing. Hell yeah. So and there is a time that you do have to get very structured and rigid on that stuff. Like we are always going through phases as a family, and we've recently just kind of changed things up a little bit, literally in the last couple of months, about how our flow, because it's always constantly changing. You have to go with the flow of like, we realize we're at a different place as a family and in life where we don't need to live that 9 to 5 lifestyle. Like sometimes our weekends are a Wednesday and a Thursday because that's what we created. Maybe I have some events on the weekend that I'll still bring them with me too. So we're still connecting. Like I have an event coming up in California called Operation Black Site, and there's UFC fighters and special operations guys that teach you how to shoot and fight. And my whole family comes through and they participate. They go through the entire 3-day event and participate while I'm working the event. And that's part of the rhythm and flow. So when something like that happens, we know that we're not going to have our freedom to really hang out other than at the event. We'll make Wednesday and Thursdays our weekend. So we'll adjust it. And so and then you asked about what are some of the kind of non-negotiables, the daily disciplines, or however you want to call them. And I try to keep everything so simple. I'm not the smartest one in the world. I never went to any college, whatever I've done. I've studied my ass off and learned and from experience. And if you take experience from a shitty childhood, from the Marine Corps, then from entrepreneurship, from running a family, that's my learning. That's been my college education. So I keep it so simple when it comes to, all right, what do I need to do every day? And like we just did together, breathe. I'll have to every day. And it's more than just 3 words, but I have like simple 1-syllable words. It's like I need to every day think. I need to breathe. I need to read. I need to write. I need to speak. Have conversation, have meaningful conversations. I need to play. Every day I have to play. If you don't have something to get excited for and have fun, like what the fuck is the point? Like what are you busting your ass for if you're not at play? Men forget how to play. They're with their kids. And I've from following you, I've seen you have that down. Like you'll combine meditation with play with your son and like just having fucking fun. Like men forgot how to have fun and how to play. It's just always stress. Yeah, we think about money and all this, and we have to be providers, but they forgot how to play and have fun. Like, believe it or not, people say, you have fun? Hell yeah, I have fun. I have fun every day, all day. Life is just a playground. That's the way I see it. And then fear. On the opposite side of play is fear. I want to do something every day that is a challenge or going to push me or pressure me or a little scary or a little hard, like doing hard shit. So the word for that is just fear is the one I put in there. And then, of course, move. I need to move every single day. I don't even take any days off from training. Me and my son train together every single day. He's 12 now. He's over 2 years. He's getting close to 1,000 straight days without missing a single day of training, like talking no days off. And some days it's 5-6 hours for training or hikes or 100-mile bike rides and all kinds of craziness. But since it's move and it's so extreme, another one is rest. I need to rest every day. Yes, I rest every day intentionally. Doesn't mean I'm taking a nap, but there's recovery, there's regeneration, specifically in my day, strategically placed where this is when I'm going to regenerate so that I could bring the fucking fire all the rest of the day until it's time to go into the arc and wind down for the night. Like all part of the flow. So the rest is in there. And I think that there has to be some kind of faith every day, whether a man is religious or not, but meaning a faith in himself, but also a faith in something outside of himself, both levels of faith, something bigger outside of himself, not just thinking about, or I have to do this, I've got to get in shape. Yeah, you have to do that, or I got to make money, but there's something bigger. There's some higher calling, a higher fucking purpose of men than faith, with their faith than just themselves. And then the other ones from there are just sun and fuel and freak. So the sun means getting outside, like you were talking about nature. Like we have time every day where we specifically do some activities outside, and we need to do those things. We need to get outside there and get some sun. And then fuel doesn't mean I'm going to cook my own food every day, but it means I'm going to fuel myself so I have the fire and the energy to do all these other things that I'm saying. And then freak just means simply be your freaking self. Be your freak self. Don't conform to the bullshit that's out there. And that's probably one of the most important ones. Like if you're going to be yourself, all that rest of that stuff is going to fall into place. And those can all fall into the pillars. Like in one of our programs, we say family, fitness, finances, and faith. And those are very simple and basic, but I want to get specific, as in like the play and the fear and the move and the rest, the sun and the fuel. I get specific, and those things happen every day. If I do those simple one syllable words every day, which every fucking one of them is free, pretty much most of them you could do by yourself, except for like connecting and speaking. Most of them you could do by yourself. You could do that in an empty elevator. Like if I get those things done with intention every day, it's impossible to have a bad day. It's impossible to not be successful. And it's probably going to lead to making more money down the line. So it's not necessarily focused on money, but if you have these disciplines and these habits, you probably will be successful in whatever the hell you're deciding to do, because you've taken care of all these other areas, especially at home. Men think they need to go and bust their ass outside the home to take care of their family, but they probably have it halfway twisted. If they would get their shit together and get their fucking house in order, they'd probably have the strength, the energy, the right mindset, and not be pulled in all different directions, have guilt built in, and then they would go out and make a shitload more money if they first got things together at home, because then they don't have that stress. They've kind of earned the right to go out and do what they have to do because they have that not work-life balance, but work-life synergy, work-life chemistry, where they're mixing it all together.
Yeah, it's that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed as well is when I'm trying to like force my life, trying to like force things to happen, that's when I block myself the most. But when I can like let go and play and have fun, that's when I'm the most successful. That's when things break through, both like my relationship with my wife, my play with my kids, my health, my business, my finances. Like when I'm like, when I let go of the outcome, I'm like, I'm just going to play and have fun here. That's when things really happen for me. So I want to know, to figure this out, I had to transition to a paper schedule, and I had to do it. I had to do it in pencil so I could erase stuff. That's how I like was able to let go and come into flow and rhythm. One, were you always this way? And two, if not, how did you become this way?
Hell no, wasn't always this way. It's all a learning process, and it's constantly changing. So I get what you're saying about the paper and pencil. I still use Google Calendar because it integrates with everything, and I like it. But I have right in front of us as we're talking, I'm writing, taking notes so I can keep learning. I have a written book and journal that I use all throughout the day, and the thing goes with me everywhere. So I can always add in notes, write down what I need to write down, so I don't forget shit throughout the day. But no, haven't always been this way, and probably used to wing it a lot, even as an adult. Sure, I had some structure in the military and learned some discipline and leadership and communication, and had a really time block and things like that, because we were very, very rigid on schedule and timing and all this other stuff. But I wouldn't say that even then, after getting out of the Marine Corps, it's still, you really don't use that stuff. Sometimes you don't use shit until you absolutely need to. So you realize, oh shit, I better unfuck myself. And I think of this moment, I just thought of it recently. I haven't thought of this moment in years, and someone actually asked me, and it sparked up recently. I used to own gyms in New York, and I was my son was born while we owned the gym. Me and my wife were the only ones working there at the time. Our first real like business and actual physical location. And so obviously the last month when she's pregnant, she wasn't in the gym at all. And so I was doing everything. Then when he's born, she's at home with him, and I had to run the gym 7 days a week, doing everything from 4 a.m. till like 9, 10 p.m., 7 days a week, just doing every single thing in the gym. And yeah, I'm hustling, grinding, building this empire. And we were a very new business too. So we're still not even profitable yet. We're in the hole, behind on rent, all this other stuff. After a couple of months of doing this, I show up at home, and my wife takes a picture of me. I pick up my son, Tyson. I'm holding him. He's like a little tiny peanut, like a month old, if that. And she takes a picture, and she's like, I want to take a picture to remember this, to show Tyson when he's older how hard you were working for the family, and how much you were sacrificing, and what you were doing, so he can appreciate and remember it. And as much as it sounded like a good thing, all I'm hearing is I'm not home for my son, that he has to see it through a fucking picture that I'm just checking in, that I'm seeing him right before he goes to sleep. And usually when I come home, he's already asleep, and I miss the entire freaking day because I'm going to build this empire out there. And yeah, we need to make a shitload of money. I'm nothing against that. But I realized I was becoming an absent father, just like my father. My father I lived in my parents' home until I left for the Marine Corps, until at 19 years old. I never had a single conversation with my father. He never taught me how to throw a football, never taught me anything about girls, how to change a car tire. Like, not a single conversation in 19 years of living in the same house. Talk about a not a positive male role model, very mentally, physically, emotionally abusive. And realized that, yeah, I wasn't any of those things, but I was still an absent father. I was still becoming him another way. It's going to be the same thing. A child seeing his father not in the home, being that male role model he should be. And that was when I realized, all right, I need to now start diving deeper into this thing and become a better leader and go into personal development and start really getting my shit together. Because this winging it stuff and just doing it all on my own and suffering in silence isn't going to fucking cut it. Because this kid's going to grow up to hate his father or not have a good connection with his father, just like I didn't have a connection with my father. It doesn't matter how it happened. If you're not in the home, you're not in the freaking home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fatherhood is such a gift, man. And my dad was working 2 jobs before my parents got divorced. I only remember 2 times that he actually got on the ground and played with me. The rest of the time he was working, or I remember him working on projects in the backyard. And it's our work, our opportunity and our work to recognize those things, to recognize their story, and then to be like, well, this is what I want to change for my kids. And so many of us are walking around unconsciously just running that same program. But you were like, no, okay, now I see that I'm repeating this pattern, and now I'm going to change it because that's what my son deserves. So what just came up, this leads me into another conversation, something that you said, that just because there's a male in the house doesn't mean that there's a man in the house. Just because there's a male in the house doesn't mean that there's a father in the house. I want to know more about that statement and more about, like, what does it mean to stand up as a man, as a husband, as a father in the house for that wife, for those kids, for future generations.
Yeah, definitely. And just because you have, and on the other side of that is, just because you have kids doesn't make you a father. It just makes you a dude that donated sperm and now has there's a kid that was born. Doesn't make you a father. So yeah, you see it all the time. The father because he's going to work, he's giving his best to all this other time. He doesn't put time and intention in his calendar, in his schedule. He doesn't have that flow that we're talking about, those rituals with the family on a regular basis, like a family vacation for a week, a year does not fucking cut it. It needs to be daily intention, like daily, like deeply intentional. And it's missing. They come home from work and you see it on TV for now decades. I know you mentioned Archie Bunker in one of our messages, and then it went on for decades after that, Homer Simpson and Al Bundy. And then look at every movie that you watch, every comedy, every sitcom is for the most part a negative, lazy, fat, unaware, unintentional freaking man. And they didn't make that up on their own. They got that from reality. That's like from real life, from real world. Men go and they give their best to work, and they're twisted and warped and think that that's what they're supposed to do because that's what the world is telling them they're supposed to do, instead of being uncommon and thinking differently. They don't have that freak freedom. They They think that they're doing it. They get home and the best of them is gone, and they just are oozing into the house as this schlub that's bringing nothing into the house, nothing into the family, and there's no energy. There's no life. There's nothing there that they're bringing into the home. They're just sitting there, sitting on the couch, watching a football game for 3 hours, drinking a fucking beer, eating unhealthy food, showing all the exact opposite habits of what a man should become. And then they think, because they're sitting there watching a football game with their kids in the house, oh, I have family time on my calendar. I get home from work at 6 p.m. or 6:30, and there's my family time. Like, that's not family time, motherfucker, just because you're sitting on the couch and they happen to be in the house. Your son is looking at you when you're that dude that's getting pissed off about a football game, that some dude threw an interception, that doesn't know you and doesn't care about you, and you're all fat and out of shape and not taking care of yourself and eating shit foods. He is not looking at you like, damn, I want to be just like that guy. He's like, hell no. He's like, I want to be nothing like that man. I want to break the cycle and not go down that road. I do not want to have the same health or fitness or body or mindset or motivation or fucking energy as that dude sitting on that couch. Like, they want to be the complete opposite. So it's having that energy in the house, like bringing that energy in life. I don't care if you're fucking tired, or you could be tired, but you get into the house, you're no longer fucking tired. You have kids, you're no longer tired. You have kids, you no longer have to search for a fucking purpose or meaning or motivation or the discipline to do it, or I don't feel like it. Like, you don't get a choice, motherfucker. Like, those little eyeballs are on you. They are looking up to you as their superhero, and you're just going to schlub around the house. Like, it doesn't matter how freaking tired you are. I did this one workshop one time. It was about 3.5 days, and I sleep not even at all. I pretty much am up the entire time as one of the instructors, and it's very intense and violent, and we cover on foot, I don't even know, 40, 50 miles throughout that time, and it's just awake the entire time, not really eating. And I show up from that thing, and I get home, and my family was doing I already worked out that day during the event. I get home, they were just starting their workout for the day on that. It was Friday, like late afternoon. Usually they work out Friday in the morning. They, for some reason, working out Friday later. I pull into the house. They run up to the car to greet me. They're excited to see me because I wasn't home for 3 days, and they're working out. What am I going to do? I'm not going to sit there and watch them work out. I'm like, fuck it. Let's get after it. We're just sitting there doing weighted vest pull-ups. I can't even feel my arms. I can't even walk because I'm beat the hell down. I'm going to do a workout. You go and you're a man. Like, you are meant to suffer. You are meant to deal with the hardships and suck it the fuck up and stop complaining and stop making excuses and being a people pleaser and blaming other people and blaming the situation. Like, I couldn't imagine. My son would probably not even talk to me. He wouldn't even be able to, if I just went there and they were working out, I said, I'm just going to hang out and go in the house and rest. I'm real tired from this event. Fuck, he would lose probably all respect for me doing that. Like, hell no, let's get after it. I'm going to go and do it. And then on top of that, he's thinking I'm tired and sore. My ankles are all swollen. I'm limping. And he's like, all right, let's do a run up the hill. I'm like, all right, motherfucker, don't challenge me. You want to have a race? Let's race. Let's fucking run all the way. Let's run a mile. Let's see. You think I'm just going to back down? Like, fuck no. Like, that's how the man needs to show up. That resilient, disciplined, energetic, full of fire. Like, I call it being the flamekeeper. No matter what, the man in the house should be the flamekeeper. Keeps the fire burning. He's on fire watch. He's making sure the fire is burning in the hearts and minds of the family and of the kids, and their goals and dreams and hopes and ideas and ideals, that they're lit and they're alive the whole freaking time. Like, that's what it's all about. Someone put in the comments, be a lighthouse, the wellness dads. Same concept. Be that lighthouse. Be that flamekeeper. I want to light a fire under their fucking ass. Talk about motivation and getting someone moving and being a leader and intentional. No matter how tired you are, it doesn't matter. Like, deal with it. Like, we're meant to do hard shit. That's why we're built the way we're built. We're meant for suffering. We're meant for pain. We're meant for hardship. We're not meant to sit around and bitch and complain. Like, that's for little schoolgirls.
Like, our ancestors were built to go days without food, miles to take down a multi-ton woolly mammoth. And like, you're tired. Like,
yeah.
Just put it in perspective, man. Like,
your Uber Eats was 10 minutes late and you're having a mental fucking breakdown.
Right. Like, you sit at the tail end of that ancestry. Like, that's in you. You have to choose it, though. You look at those kids, that should clarify your purpose for you. So we got this problem. We got the soft dads watching TV, watching sports, that your kids are looking at you like, I want to be the guy in the sports game instead of that guy sitting on the couch. And me, I want my kids to be like, that guy's a superhero. I think it was Ryan King. He's like, my kids and their friends think that I'm Batman. Like, that's what I want. I want my kid to look at me and be like, my dad is Batman. And I'm pretty sure he is, because he does all these crazy things. And sometimes I don't know what he's doing. I want my kid to look at me and be like that. How do we get ourselves in this position? How do we get ourselves in this position where we become the brunt of the joke? Not even just on TV. Look at that thumbs up. Miracle technology. But to our families, and to the point where like our kids are looking at us like, I don't want to be like that guy.
It's the easy answer to say like, the loss of sense of purpose, because, well, to me, having kids is the purpose of a man. Like, that's why we were created. That's why men and women are different. We're meant to have kids. Like, that's literally the purpose of being a human, being a man, is to be a father. That is the purpose. Men think that sounds too simple. It sounds too woo-woo. It sounds too weak, or whatever you want to call it. They think the purpose is to get a fucking Lamborghini or do all this other stupid shit, like going to the Super Bowl and all this other cool stuff that means fucking nothing. They've lost their way, and it became, like we also talked about before, the Industrial Revolution, World War II, where men were not around, and that whole cycle started. And now technology is fucking killing men, and instead of utilizing it and weaponizing it, it's made them softer and weaker, and it's just forced down their throat. Instead of standing up and being uncommon, being the fucking freak, they're crumbling under the pressure because it's easy. It's a lot easier to be average. They think it's easier to be average. To me, awesome is a lot fucking easier than average, to go along with not even living your own life, living your own lifestyle. They've fallen into all these fucking traps. And whatever the reason for it is probably a different discussion. But who knows? To make men weak, if you want to control people, you're going to not control the children and the women. You're going to take out the men. You're going to want to take out the men. That's going to be your goal. That's going to be your top fucking priority. We go and invade another country. We're not going to go and attack all the women and little children and old people. We're going to attack the fucking men. That's where the spine and the heart is of the forces. So if you want to control and weaken people down, you're going to go after the men. It's been a fucking war on men. And you were talking about the degree in feminism, and you realize, wait a minute, you were learning that's all man's fault. And like, fuck, we got to get out of this, break this cycle. And the only way to do it is to suck it the fuck up, do all these intentional things that we're talking about, the breathe and the move and all these things. It's just our job. It's our daily disciplines as a man. Like, it is your duty and your obligation as a man. And then when you have kids, there's no other, I can't even comprehend how a man can be lacking purpose and can't find a meaning in his life. And he's feeling overwhelmed and lost and confused, and he has kids. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? What more do you need? What more motivation do you need to be that disciplined man, that superhero that your kids are looking for? Hell yeah, they should look at you as a superhero. Like, I forget how it came up. There was like a movie with The Rock. This was like 4 years ago. And my daughter's like, of course, Daddy will kick Rock's butt. Like, and I'm like, damn right I will. Fuck that guy. I might have to fight dirty. I might have to shank him or something. He's a big dude, but hell yeah, I'll kick his fucking ass. Fuck The Rock. Hell yeah, I'm better than The Rock. Like, that's how your kids should look at you, like Batman, like you said. And unfortunately, that's not the majority of men these days. It's an uphill battle, but as I meet more men like you, I realize we do have hope. And it goes back to those foundations, like taking care of yourself first. Men don't take care of themselves anymore. They think that they need to go take care of other people. They become people pleasers, and they have the wrong goals and the wrong purpose and the wrong reason for those goals. Like, they want to be millionaires. Like, for what? They can't explain why, or why they want to make a certain amount of money. Has nothing to do with their family. Like, what are your goals for your family? What are your goals for your future, for your bloodline, for your family tree? And they have no fucking clue. Or you ask them, what are your superpowers? What are your strengths? And they don't know. They don't even know themselves anymore. They can't even tell you what they're good at, what their strengths are, what their superpowers are. Why should they be a role model to their kids? They can't even tell you that. If you don't even know who you are, don't know what your superpowers are, don't know what your strengths are, why would your son want to be anything like your dumb, lost little puppy boy ass? Like, he wants to be nothing like you.
Let that breathe for a second, man. It's powerful. We've lost our purpose. We've become seduced by, there's a decadent, I think it's called decadence theory. We're seduced by decadence. We try to live the lifestyle of the royals, and we've been tricked into thinking like that's the purpose. Just have this decadent lifestyle. Like, I'm going to have this gooey chocolate cake and get this Lamborghini and sleep with all the women and all this bullshit. But it's an illusion. Fucking illusion, man. So what is, I've heard you talk about some of the statistics before, and you talked about absent fathers. Like, you had that moment where you woke up and you're like, oh, this is, my son's going to see this picture of me. Like, this is the one time I get to check in. You woke up to that. So what is the cost? What is the cost of this absent fatherism? Even if you're physically present, but mentally and emotionally, you're not there. Like, what is the cost of this?
It's another generation of lost boys that become men that never grow up. Another generation of little boys trapped in a man's body, acting like you don't have to go far. Go on social media. Go put a post on social media that's semi, like what you really believe in, but semi controversial or whatever, but it's really a belief of yours, and see all the little bitch boys that come out. I see that. You see it. It's not hard to find them. And that's a majority. More will go on there just to be negative. That means there's a grown man, and then you pull up their account just to see, like, how does a human even talk like this? I've had people message me. They wish I would have went to combat, so I would have been killed. And the other military veterans say that. Like, where did they lose their fucking way? And you find them, and you see it. It's out there especially on social media. They lost their fucking way, and it's crazy. And then you pull up their account. Like, how could a man, like a grown man, is sitting there scrolling and trolling the internet just to comment shit on different people's posts, and they'll find a post that you did a year ago. It means they're scrolling and scrolling just to find, oh, there's one. Oh, you don't know how to throw a punch. Someone commented on a boxing video I did like a year and a half ago on Instagram. That means they were scrolling just to find it. Oh, I'd kick your ass. I'd knock you out. All this shit. And you pull up their account, and they have quotes from the Bible in their account, and Philippians 3:1-6, and they have quotes from the Bible, but then they're telling people that they wish their grandmother would get gang raped in a fucking comment on the internet. Like, literally, I've had that commented on the internet from someone who had a fucking Bible quote in their thing, and that's how they're commenting. And then there's pictures with them and their kids. Like, you have kids, and this is how you act and operate. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in trouble, man. But there's hope. Like you said, there's guys like you. There's guys like me. There's so many of us coming together now, too, working together. Frequency Fatherhood Summit, man. That was a really cool thing. So we've already covered a lot, but how do we break out of this?
It goes into back kind of what we were saying, go back to those foundational things, those basics, going back and remembering who the hell we are, like reminding ourselves what the hell we're made of, and what our superpowers are. Like, going back, giving yourself some freaking credit, going back and being grateful that you are a strong man, or the capabilities are strong. Remember what you're capable of. Remember what your superpowers are. Remember what your God-given gifts and strengths are, and freaking utilize them. Realizing what makes you different and unique and weird and uncommon, and utilize that and weaponize that, even monetize that, so you can show up as that freak father, that uncommon dad that your kids see. And they see that, wow, that's someone I want to be like. That's a different kind of beast right there. Going back to being that savage servant, still civilized, but a savage, doing these hard things, doing the hard shit with your family, taking your family along for the ride. And like I said, part of our big goal as a family is integrating everything we do with work and business and training and workouts and everything with the family together, doing hard stuff with the family. Like, we do these 24-hour challenges to go through hardship and suffering and really tap into who you are, remembering again what you were created for, what you were made for, what your freaking God-given gifts and talents and abilities are, and push yourself and press yourself and take your family along for the ride the entire time. Do the intentional hard shit with each other. Manufacture adversity for yourself and your family, where you can challenge each other and grow and get better and build resilience, so that you're not building a new generation. So it starts obviously with ourselves getting our own shit together. And really the foundation, real foundation, that is just get in the fucking gym. Like, take care of yourself as a man. Men are not meant to be schlubs. We're not meant to have tits. Like, that's not our job, to have jiggling, freaking lactating breasts. Like, it's not what men are created for. We should be strong and fierce and show that to our sons, that that's how a man should be. But show him also how to act, how to operate, how to control his emotions. Like, it starts with us. We can't, you can't go and teach your kid one thing and do the complete opposite. Back in the personal training world, there was Martin Rooney used to talk about personal trainers, and he would tell personal trainers, eat your broccoli. It meant, don't go and tell your clients, because it was a trend going on where just personal trainers were even getting fat and they're trying to be personal trainers, or they're lazy and they're doing all kinds of stupid stuff. He's like, eat your broccoli. Don't go and tell your clients to go sleep 8 hours a day and drink this amount of water and eat all these fruits and vegetables and this meal plan and macros, and you're not doing it yourself. Like, don't be a fucking fraud is the first thing. Like, men nowadays are fucking frauds. You're posting about the Bible on the internet, but then saying you wish someone's grandmother would get gang raped. You are not a man. You are a fraudulent little bitch. So stop being a fraud. Like, get your own shit together. Get your own house in order, meaning yourself, so you can get your house in order, like the house you live in, so you can help get the house of the freaking planet in order. And it starts in the house with the father and the sons, is like really where it starts. 100%. Not in the business, not in the Lamborghinis, not in the Super Bowl or the Oscar awards or whatever else. It starts in the freaking home literally with the father and the sons, because that's going to create the future men. Leaders creating leaders is where it starts. And you can't lead that little man until you lead your fucking self.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't lead anyone else if you can't lead yourself. And our ancestors understood that our bodies were our most important and effective tools and weapons. And we've let that go. And it starts there. You need that purpose first. There's one other thing I want to get into. Man, time has flown today. A great time. That is really uncommon, that I've heard you bring up. And when I heard it, I was like working out right over there. And I was like jumping up and down, like, yes, I was so happy, because the word abracadabra means by my words I create. And within the word spelling, we have the magic word spell. We're literally casting spell. A spell is a word or combination of words of great power. So many men are walking around unconsciously throwing their language around. We're working on, with my son, we're working on, I can't, he's 3. Okay. Well, how do we change that? Tell me about, from your perspective, the power of language and how we use it intentionally and purposefully, like we've talked about with everything else so far today.
Yeah. Like you're working with I can't, in ours, like in our house, some of the words are like, you can't just, there's no such thing as just sure. Like when you give the word sure, oh yeah, sure. It's kind of not serious. There's no such thing as blaming. There's no such thing as it's not my fault. There's no creating yourself as a victim. No matter how, now my son is 12, my daughter is 10. They're a little older. It's a little deeper conversations. They're reading books on emotional intelligence now. So they're learning about self-awareness and social awareness, and they'll pick it out and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about social awareness. We'll see a movie or a TV show, and they'll be like, oh, they'll be commenting, that kid has such a high IQ, but no emotional intelligence, 0 EQ. And it all does start with the words. It starts with the words and mantras or whatever you want to call them. And I'm not going around jumping up and shouting them out, but I literally write down several words. So they're drilled into my head every single day. And these are the conversations and topics we talk about with the kids. They're literally every page. It's red here and then blue down the side. And I could go to any page in this book and just flip open to a random page, and you'll see the same thing every morning, part of my intentional work. And it's things like telling myself, I am fucking awesome. Telling other people, you're fucking awesome. Like, start with my son. I started that. He was 4 years old, and he did this Lego piece that was like 4,000 pieces for 16-year-old and up. And he finished the entire thing by himself in like a little over a week. And he was done. I'm like, damn, Tyson, you're fucking awesome. And he's like, thanks, Daddy. Who taught you how to do Legos? I'm like, no one. You did. Like, that little dude is my hero. He's my coach. He's my mentor. He's my freaking superhero. And I'm like, no one. He's like, oh, well, you do it with me. So did anyone ever tell you that you're awesome, Daddy? I'm like, no. He's like, well, you're awesome, Dad. So like that's talking about wording. No excuses. We have it freaking tattooed on my arm so I don't forget it, is wording. Like, we don't make excuses in our family. We have a code. We have a what we call the freak code in our family. Basically, it's like core values for the family. It's the freak code, and it's what we operate by, and it's based literally off of words. We keep everything so simple, based off the words of discipline and energy and confidence and attack and mind and body and listen and create and mission and win and protect. Those are the words that are part of our freak code. And it finishes off with freak, of course. But wording is everything. The language you use is everything. It sets the tone for everything. But also on the flip side, like, we don't hold back in our language. We are very direct. We're very straightforward. We don't get upset. We don't take things personal. We don't take things the wrong way. If we don't understand something, we're not going to suffer in silence. So we're not going to take language the wrong way. Like, I curse around my kids, and people are like, oh, that's so horrible. You're such a horrible dad. I'm like, listen, if the worst thing I did all fucking day is curse in front of my kids, that's a pretty damn good day. And that comes from the same people who eat dinner with their kids like once every couple of weeks because they're out in the office, or they're shit. Me and my wife go out for a date night on Thursdays, and we go to a restaurant that has a bar, and you see all these men that come out of work, and then they're sitting in the bar for like 2-3 hours drinking before they go home. And then they'll tell me I'm a bad dad because I say fuck in front of my kids, whatever. So it's also letting them see the real world. Like, we have real deep, meaningful conversations. They know all about drugs and everything else since they were little. Like, we have these conversations. We go deep into the language, and everything is based off of our core values and specific simple words. Just like the words I said for the daily disciplines, we have words for our free code. I have my own personal words and mantras we tell ourselves every day, like be the flame keeper. Like, we use the word even and yet, like the word even. All right, no matter what you're doing. All right, I can't do I can't do 10 pull-ups, or you can't do 10 pull-ups yet. Always putting the word yet after something. Or I'm not making the money I want to make yet, or I don't know how to ride a bike yet. Putting the word yet behind anything makes it limitless. Put the word even in front of everything also makes it limitless, because no matter how much money you're making, you could always make even more money. No matter how strong you are, you could be even stronger, even faster, even smarter. You could always make even more impact. You could always be an even better husband, an even better father, an even better son, an even better motherfucking man. So putting the word even in front of anything or yet after anything creates a limitless world. And then we'll turn into jokes. Like, I'll say something, and then my kids will mock me and be like, yeah, about something stupid that like talk shit about. Like, so they understand and how to have a sense of humor. How to be sarcastic is another way of language and wording. Like, in our house, you have to have thick skin because we have fun and we talk shit and we're always sarcastic. So that's also part of the language. Not taking it personal, being clever, being sharp, like, all part of the game, all part of the language and the power of the freaking words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had my son's 3, and I've had him canter me once. And I was like, oh, you got me, buddy. You're right. You're right. Daddy's making the choice. It's not that I can't. I'm making this choice right now. And
I said the other day, yeah, some of our words are never and always. And the other day I said a sentence. It was like, I always never do this, and they're like, all right, you're like going to hell now. Like, I put them like back to back, and they'll call you on that shit. But that's the power of the words. Like, we don't say always in our house, and we don't say never, because pretty much there's not many things that are always and never. You could say most of the time, but if you say you always get pissed off when I do this, I don't always get pissed off. Maybe I do it too much or whatever it is, but we don't use always or never in our house.
It's that absolute or binary language. Absolute language is the language of the Sith. So you'll reveal yourself. Well, us Jedis will know. And then secondly, you got conflict language or victim orientation language with the negations, the I can't. Well, that's the reality that you're creating for yourself. What you hold your mind to is what you're creating for yourself. So I can't yet. Well, I haven't tried yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I could one day. I can do that. And here's how I'm going to do it. We get to reframe this through everything, through our language. And that's the programming for this thing here, which then dictates how we're going to show up and the legacy. I think that we so often forget that our language is a legacy that we give to our kids too. The way that we speak are the stories that they inherit and that they
Oh
believe
yeah. My son
about the world.
will be talking to my wife all the time. She's like, that sounds very familiar. Like, they're picking up the shit that you're saying. He's getting it from me, hearing me say it. They're pulling up the wording, the context, the tonality, all of that. Part of the language is the tonality, how you're saying stuff, how you're taking things so that you're not taking things personal and you're realizing it's just a joke or sarcastic, like all part of a emotional intelligence. That's a huge part of what we study in our homeschooling is emotional intelligence, because it's lacking. Probably one of the number one things lacking in the kids or even adults these days is lacking freaking emotional intelligence. They just don't have it. It's not existent because of the internet and social media. There's no more interaction. They don't know how to deal in real human situations anymore, and they cause them to act totally different. So yeah, the language is freaking massive.
Yeah. You know, one thing that just came up for me is you were talking about being really direct. And that's something that I was really uncomfortable. I sat in a women's studies course thinking I was going to get a degree in women's studies and feminism, right? We've been conditioned to be soft and to soft talk. And it was really uncomfortable for me at first to start being more direct with my language. But if you want to be dependable, somebody that your wife can lean on when she needs you to be hard and to rise up for her, pun intended, and when you need to rise up for the family, somebody that your kids can lean on, it's imperative that you start becoming more firm, using more direct language, and that you get rid of the like, kinda, maybe. No, make a commitment, because this is one way that you can start by changing your language, getting firmer there. You can start to firm up other areas of your life too. Make those commitments and follow through on them and start rising up and becoming the freak, becoming the uncommon man, husband, and father that they need you to be. All right, man.
Oh yeah, awesome stuff.
I feel like we brought a ton, and I feel like that's a good place for us to wrap up for today. Anything else coming up for you?
Just the next stages of integrating the whole family into everything we're doing, whether it's businesses, the fitness, building fitness businesses together with the kids. And that's the vision. That's the plan. Creating a long down the line is a freak family fortress compound where all the different families and grandkids have their own houses on a massive land, like creating our own community of freaks almost is the big vision.
Yeah, it's going back to what life really is reintegrating the family into everything. We're meant to be integrated, and then integrating a larger tribe. That's what we're feeling over tier 2 is like, who else wants to buy a bunch of land and like homestead this shit together?
Oh yeah, awesome.
All right, man. Where can we find you, what you're up to, and get involved in your work?
I'm a believer in the universe will bring people to where they belong, where they're supposed to be. It's not hard to find someone. I'm the bald, ugly white guy on Instagram. They can follow right through here, wherever. I'm sure there's some links or whatever, but I'm a believer that the universe is going to send people to the path and crash into the people that they're meant to crash into at the right time. So that's what it's all about.
Awesome, brother. Steve Eckert, it's been a pleasure to have you here, man.
Awesome talking to you, brother.
All right. Have an amazing day. Have an uncommon day. Stay freaky. Peace.